Excited about this new series, Face to Face. It's something we've been working on for quite a while now. And I'll get into that a little bit more here in just a moment. Before I go any further, I do want to do one thing, and that is this. This past Wednesday night, we had what we call our Worship and Vision Night. It functions as our annual meeting, and one of the things we did there was we elected our new board members. And so we are part of the Wesleyan denomination, and the way our governance works is we have what's called a local board of administration. You may be more familiar like a board of elders or deacons. It kind of functions in that way. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure you know who our board members are. And so real quick, I just want to introduce you to any of our board members that are in this service. I know we had a few in the other service, but if you're here today, when I read your name, if you'll just stand and stay standing so we can kind of see who our new board members for this coming year are. Anita Carlson, Jim Brady, Gary Campbell, John Hayes, Joe Rogers, Kim Svek, Michelle Parks, Rich Wilson, Megan Karskadden, Jason Hobson, and Rainey Lafreniere. Who all we got? We got, so right here. Yes, you can clap for them. We are so excited. Thank you for serving. Thank you for leading us well. It's important for you to know who they are, because if there's a time where maybe you have a question about the church, and maybe you don't run into me or whatever, you can talk to any of the board members. They are amazing leaders, and they are who God has appointed to kind of take us into our future. And I'm really excited about where God is leading Bayview. So anyway, thank you guys. Excited about that. This whole face-to-face thing really kind of came about as we met as a staff and kind of talked about it, because what we're doing is over these next 13 weeks of summer, and yes, that's all we have is 13 weeks. 13 weeks of summer, we're going to be looking at the one-on-one face-to-face engagements that Jesus had. And there's more than 13. And we had to narrow them down to the ones that we really feel like impacted us, that we really wanted to dive deeper into, because Jesus recognized the importance of face-to-face. And I think deep down, I think we know the importance of face-to-face, but it's kind of an art that is fading. Something about this digital age that we're in with social media and everything that happens online, sometimes a lot of the face-to-face engagements is something that's kind of disappearing. Now, it hasn't always been just the online thing. I remember back, if you're my age, you'll remember this, there was a time when if a phone call came to your home, it would ring to a phone that was hanging on a wall. This phone was wired and tethered to that wall, sometimes by a 50-foot cord, so that the teenage girls could go to the room with them. You remember those? They get all twisted up. You had to go and pull them apart. Remember those? Here's the other thing that's interesting. For those of you that are in the younger generation, by the way. When that phone rang, there was no screen, and you had no idea who was calling. So you had two options. Don't answer it, or answer it. That was it. And you were answering, saying hello with no idea who's on the other end. And they could say whoever they were. You couldn't trust it. And that's what really brought about this. See, I read articles, and I know about cyberbullying and all the negative things that happen online. Long before that was the seedy, underdark world of crank phone calls. Who here has ever made a crank phone call in your life? Yes, aren't those the best days? I mean, they could be innocent. Hey, excuse me, is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. Right? Call the pizza place and order a pizza under some assumed name, silly name, or I mean, it was all these things. It was so fun doing that because you weren't face to face. They had no idea who you were. It was like safety, and we could hide behind that. Of course, now we read, even sociologists are beginning to recognize that the digital age, it actually is setting a lot of our younger generations up for some challenges. It's hurting their ability to relate because they're not doing it face to face. So many of our generation, the young generation now, everything is digital. They function, and here's one thing that drives me crazy, and that is this. It's brought about what I call digital opinions. Something about the internet has made everybody an expert on everything, including my life. And everybody's got an opinion because it's safe. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want online and get away with it. And then it also leads to this. It leads to people developing digital relationships. There are a lot of people, I think some of my kids would probably even flirt with this, and that is that they have friends online. They have friends that they play video games with, or they chat with, or whatever it may be, and they misinterpret those relationships as real. Then I watched a documentary this week, and it was all about digital identities. And they were interviewing this one professional woman. She was in her early 30s. She went to work every day. She had a great job with people, so she wasn't like isolated. She worked with people all day, every day. She could not wait to get home every evening, and she would spend 3 to 5 hours online because she had a whole different digital identity. And she talked about how she could be whoever she wanted to be and whatever she wanted to be. And the pictures she would post of herself, they were not her because she didn't like who she really was. And she could have all the different hobbies and histories and past. It was a whole different persona that she created online. And she lived for that moment. She lived to be somebody different. Jesus, although not having those kind of distractions, he recognized the power of face-to-face. It's why he went out of his way to put himself on their turf in their scenarios. He was in their homes. He was in their workplace. He would go and he would engage them face-to-face, moment to moment, word for word. He knew that that's where the change happened. So what we want to do is we want to look at 13 of the different ones. And this morning, I picked this one to begin with because I'm not sure I've found another one in the Gospels that takes the entire message of the gospel and just communicates it so well. If you have your Bibles, we're in John chapter 8. Before I read this, as you turn there, I will acknowledge this. Some of you probably know this. This is one of those passages that there's some debate about because a lot of experts cannot find it in some of the most ancient manuscripts. And a lot of experts have said that it doesn't seem like this is something that John himself authored. But I've done a lot of reading on this, and there's arguments on both sides. I'm very comfortable with this understanding that there are a lot of great historical theologians that agree this was a true story. And maybe John didn't write it, but it was a story that needed a home because it was a story about Jesus. And there are a lot of great preachers, a lot of great leaders that have full confidence that this is a real story from the life of Jesus. And I kind of fall in that camp because this story shows what Jesus came to do. This tells the story, why did Jesus come to earth? I think it's all right here. So we're in John chapter 8. We're going to start reading in verse 1. It says this: Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." Now, this story has been picked apart for generations and for history, and historians have tried their best to try and understand as much as we can. The reality is this: we just don't know anything really about this woman. We don't really know who she is. We don't know where she came from. We don't know what her life was like after this. All we have is this moment, this face-to-face encounter with Jesus Christ. Most would fully agree that this was a total setup. She was a pawn in their plot to trap Jesus. They were hoping Jesus would say, "Don't stone her." In fact, somewhere in their hearts, the religious leaders kind of knew there's no way Jesus is going to stand by and watch us kill this woman. So if we tell him that's the law and he protects her, well, then we've got him. He broke the law, and we can stop this thing called the way. See, Jesus was a huge disruption to religion, huge disruption to the way that church had always been done, and they didn't like that. They loved the power that they had. They loved the control that they had as religious leaders, and they didn't want anything to threaten that. So we've got to stop this Jesus thing. of course, they threw this woman down, and we don't know how they caught her. A lot of people know it was a setup or agree it was a setup. Some even speculate that she was like the mistress of one of the religious leaders that they just decided to sacrifice as a scapegoat. Whatever the case, they throw her down. The crowd begins to gather. People knew the law. People knew that something was getting ready to go down, and some people gathered to watch. Some people came with stones in hand. They were ready to participate. In the midst of all this, there was chaos, there was noise. There was this woman laying there. And in the middle of all this, something continues to jump out at me about this story. It's this simple thing. It's Jesus sees. Jesus sees exactly what's happening here. He sees the threats. He sees the plot. He sees the stones. He sees the woman. He sees the chaos. He sees the tension rising. He sees all of this. There's plenty happening around him. But here's what's so cool. In the middle of all that, Jesus, he sees her. He sees the woman. He's not distracted. He's not caught off guard. He's not pulled 100 different directions. He just sees her. And there's something powerful about that message, because there's just times in my life where I feel like everything is just spinning out of control. There's times in my life where it feels like there's so many things going on. There's so many stressors. There's so many people that I need to go talk to. There's so much I need to do. There's things in the future. There's things in the past. There's just so much going on. And then I look at the world, and there's wars, and there's violence, and there's chaos, and there's this decline of morality, and everything seems to just be going downhill so quickly that Jesus must be fully distracted. He's so busy. He's got so much going on. And sometimes I need the reminder in the midst of all of that, no, wait. He sees me. He sees you. He sees you. He sees what's going on around your life. He sees the things that are threatening you. He sees the plot of the enemy to try and pull you away from him. He sees the things that are bringing you grief and stress and worry. He sees the weights that are on your shoulders. He sees the burdens you carry. And in the middle of all of that, he's not distracted. He's not disinterested. He has not moved on. Just like this woman, he sees you. But it means a lot of things with that. Like this woman, I recognize that if he sees me the way he sees her, it also means this. He sees my sin. He sees the things in my life that are not in line with his plan for my life. He sees the things that I do, say, and think that are not following what he asks of me. He sees the way that I am not obeying and following him. And he sees even the moments in my life and my past where I have just flat out rebelled against him. He sees my sin. And the thing is, I think a lot of us lose sight of that. See, somewhere as children, we easily develop this natural thing that we hide. I don't know if you remember this as a child. I remember that I was a child. I had a lot of night terrors, and I was a really worrisome kid. And things, I got scared easily. And I just remember that if I was scared, there was something that would take it all away. I would just hide under my blankets. Anybody remember hiding under your blankets? Or maybe your kids do that now. And there was something in my childlike mentality that I thought, if I can't see it, it's not real. And if they can't see me, they can't get me. And so I would hide. And I would find safety in my hiding, and I would find comfort in my hiding, and I would lay really, really still. I wouldn't move. It's funny because if we go back to the beginning of all this, back in the Garden of Eden, we find Adam and Eve. They eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they bring sin into the world. Instantly, it says their eyes are open, and it says they're ashamed of their nakedness. They know they've done wrong. They've disobeyed God. They've really messed this whole thing up. And what do right out of the gate? They hide. They hide from God. And the pattern that we continue to follow is this, is that sometimes we allow things in our life that we know it's not what God has for me. I'm allowing things into my mind, my heart, my body. I'm doing things I know are not in line with his will, but nobody else knows. And I'm hiding it so well, and I'm keeping it a secret. And here's the deal. If I hide it, it's not real. If I hide it, then I'm going to be fine. And there's a lot of people that they love Jesus and want to follow him, but they're hiding sin. And I think sometimes we need to stop and recognize Jesus sees. He knows. He sees the things that we bring into our hearts and our minds. He sees the actions that we do when we think no one else is looking. He knows the choices we're making. Jesus, he sees our sin. There was nothing debatable about her guilt. Nowhere in the story do we see anybody be like, hey, let's talk about, was she really caught? Was she really guilty? She was busted. Stone cold. She couldn't hide from it. She couldn't deny it. It was there. And I think sometimes we got to get comfortable with this. There's a verse that we read, and sometimes we read it with a different twist. And it's a very common verse. It's Romans 3:23. And it simply says this, for all have sinned, we all fall short of God's glorious standard. So it says this, for everyone has sinned. And sometimes I read that from the angle of like, oh, yeah, you're right. We're all terrible. You're right, God. We're all the worst. And we are. I mean, we're all sinners. But what if this is something different? Have you ever kept a secret for a long, long time? It was just eating you up inside. And you finally came clean. You finally like, okay, I got to get this off my chest. When my wife and I were first married, I might have shared this before, but I got a phone call one day. It was from a guy, and he was giving me really, really good news. I'd won a diamond ring and a vacation. Didn't even know I entered for it. It was awesome. He tells me all the things of how glorious and amazing this is going to be, and he just paints a picture, and I'm gullible and young, and just like I'm buying it, hook, line, and sinker. And the only thing I need to do to get this free diamond ring for my beautiful bride and this vacation is to give him my credit card number. Innocent enough, right? No big deal. I carried that burden for days of like, as soon as I hung up, it was like one of those things like, that's amazing, click. I shouldn't have done that. That feels like a mistake. $400 does not feel quite good for a newly married couple as a youth pastor. Like, that's a month of groceries. Like, and I just remember being like, I don't want to tell her. I don't want to tell her. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed. But when I finally did, yeah, I mean, obviously she wasn't like, oh, it's fine. But it was something like, and so sometimes we read Romans 3:23, it's like, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. What if we read this as a statement of freedom? Hey, just go ahead and let that burden go. Quit hiding. Quit pretending. Because at the end of the day, I believe this. Most followers of Jesus, most Christians, most people are not okay with their sin. Nobody here is like, you know what? I think I'm really disobeying God, and I love it. We're not okay with it. We're just trying to make the most of it. We're trying to just make the best of it and keep it hidden. I watched another documentary this week. It was all about maximum security prisons. And I don't know why I was drawn to this. I hope I never have to participate in any of that. But it was talking about the life of a prisoner. And it was showing it all the things that prisoners now can do in some of these prisons. And of course, they can go and they can take classes and they can get their degrees and education. They can learn a trade and learn skills. They have recreation. And of course, we've all seen the movies. They all work out. They're all buff and ripped. And they all do this. They can go to the commissary and they have money and they can buy food and different things. And it's all this stuff. They can go to the common room and watch TV, and they have access to certain levels of internet. I mean, there's a lot of things. And really you could look at it and be like, wow, maybe being a prisoner is not so bad. Maybe this isn't all that terrible. I got news for you. I don't care what prisoner it is. If you were to sit down and talk to them, they could tell you like, hey, it's been a pretty good day. Had a good 3 solid meals. I went to class. I got to make something in wood shop. And we went out and played basketball. And I didn't get shanked today. That's a win. And all these good things. Nobody ever went to jail or went to bed in prison and woke up the next day and shocked the next morning that they were still in prison. Nobody ever said like, you know what? I don't need my freedom. This is pretty good. Wrong. I don't care about the best day in prison. There's not a prisoner out there that would not trade all of the good stuff in the bad situation for one thing, their freedom. And you may be here today, and you may have been making the best of a bad situation. You may have found a nice balance between career and family and hobbies and sin. And you think you've got it all managed. But here's the reality. That's not how sin works. You can't keep hiding sin. You can't keep working it that way. You may think that you've got it all taken care of and that nobody knows about it. But they do. And this statement that all have sinned is a statement like, okay, pressure's off. Pressure's off. It also means this, I think, that when they see that, it means this, that Jesus also, he sees my shame. What did he see when this woman was thrown down? I mean, he sees this woman dragged out before him, and she's thrown, we're assuming a lot of that, but it seems very natural that that's how this would go. She didn't walk in there willingly. She wasn't all excited like, what's up? She probably had grabbed just enough clothes to cover herself, and now she's on the ground trying to grab her robe around her. She hears the voices. She knows the law. She's probably not even able to look up. She may not know Jesus is even there. She just knows this, that she's made a horrible mess of her life, and I said I was going to stop all this time. I know this isn't how I wanted this to end. This is not how I dreamed as a little girl my life would go, and now I'm here, and at any moment now, I'm going to feel the first stone hit my back, and maybe one will hit my head and knock me unconscious so I don't feel the rest of my death. It's all over, and she huddled there full of shame and embarrassment. Jesus saw that. He sees it in you. Some of us, we've been walking with this weight, this burden of shame over who we've been or who we are, the things we've done or the things we're doing, and that's where we stop. Nobody could forgive me. Nobody can cover up all of this. And maybe it's not even sin. Maybe it's just life has been beating you down, and you feel that shame of just not being okay. Everyone else is okay. I'm too embarrassed to have a need. I'm too embarrassed to need help. I'm too embarrassed to just not be okay. Jesus sees that shame. And you need to know something. He's not okay with it. He's not okay with it. That is why he came to do what he did. I promise you this, Jesus did not come from heaven, live on earth, go to the cross, suffer torture, suffer pain, die for us, and come back from the grave 3 days later to make you a little bit better. He didn't come in to forgive issue. He didn't come in to kind of change your life. He did this for radical transformation from the inside out. Because he is not okay with your shame. He's not okay with the weight that we carry. It's why we read these words right here in Romans 10:10. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. As scriptures say, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. Never be put to shame. There is this opportunity in the midst of all of this for something else to happen. And Jesus sees it. Which means this, Jesus sees my need. He sees exactly what you need. Now, growing up in church and growing up in an awesome Christian home, I was very well versed in the whole concept of that God will give me my needs, not my wants, right? So God will give me, green beans, but not M&Ms. That's a child's view of God, right? God's heavy on the vegetables, not so great on the candy. And in my home, that was a big deal because my mom, who is here today, so she can tell you if this is not accurate, but we lived in a sugar candy-free home for a lot of the time. Like, we were big on granola and carob. You know what carob is? You don't want to know what carob is. It's fake chocolate. It's dark, it's creamy, and it's waxy. Yeah. So I was well versed, like, well, I want this, I want that. And I think we hear that. We like, okay, yes, God knows what I need versus what I want. Although I need transportation, but I want like a Porsche. And that's how I always figured it be, that God sees it in that way. Can I promise you this? God is functioning at a much deeper level. God is functioning at a level that's way beyond that. He sees what you need beyond what this life is doing. And the best example I can think of is in Luke chapter 5. We find the story of the crippled man whose friends lower him at the feet of Jesus. This man is a cripple. He has had to spend his life sitting at the city gates every single day, begging for food and money, enough to survive that day. And each day would come to a close, he would go to sleep, and the next day he would start over. And this was his life. This was his pattern. I beg, I eat, I get by, I start over tomorrow. But now there's this guy named Jesus, and I heard he's making a lot of amazing miracles. He's giving sight to blind people, and I heard that he healed lepers, and I heard he made other crippled people walk again. So maybe for me, this is going to be a difference maker. And his friends agree, and they get him there. It says they had to fight the crowds, and they lowered him through the top of the roof, and they drop him down right at the feet. And for this man, imagine his thoughts. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Once I can walk, it's all better now. Once I get my legs, I can get a job. I can make a life. I can go find a family. I can start something I've never had. Everything I've seen everybody else having, I get this. All Jesus has to say is get up and walk. And he lays there before the Lord, and he knows it's coming, and he hears Jesus open his mouth, and then he hears these words, "Son, your sins are forgiven." What? I mean, don't get me wrong, like, thanks. But doesn't really help me out right now, right? Hey, Jesus, like, could we start with the walking? Can we start with fixing my life and change the things now? And we'll get to the whole forgiveness thing. And I think that's where we continue to function today. Some of us have been following Jesus our entire lives, and we still misinterpret our wants for our needs. We want Jesus to fix my life. I want Jesus to give me fulfillment and happiness, all the things. Jesus may not want to give those. Those are important. It's not that he doesn't care. It's not that those don't matter. It's just that there are other things that matter more. And for this young man, yes, was Jesus going to heal him still? Sure, we see that in the story. But that wasn't the most important thing. And when I see that Jesus sees me, and I see that he sees my sin and my shame, he sees my need. He knows what Chris needs more than Chris knows. And he knows that there's times in my life that I don't get it. But he knows that there's times in my life where I'm going to need faith more than fixes. I would love to tell you that Jesus is going to fix your life. But that's a promise I can't make. But I can promise you that he's going to do whatever he can to walk with you and increase your faith. I think sometimes he knows that I need hope more than answers. See, I'm an answers guy. I'm a control freak. I want the answers. I want the information. I want to control it. And sometimes my comfort is in that. In fact, my wife will tell you that if we're ever watching a movie and it's a true story movie or anything like that, I'm on Google the whole movie. I want answers. How real is this? Did Rudy really sack that quarterback? Am I crying for the right reasons? I want to know. Sometimes I need to put my hope in God as the source and not the things I know and understand. I think sometimes I need trust instead of proof. I can't prove God exists. Not like a scientific experiment. But I can trust in the experiences I've had with him. And my trust in him can continue to grow. Even if things around me seem chaos and terrible. At the end of the day, it comes down to this, that he knows that I need life beyond this life. I love life. I love it. I love the stage of life that we're in right now. I love having grandkids and kids. And I love our church. And I love what God is doing. I love all the things I get to do. And I love the sun. And I mean, there's so many great things. Yeah, I love all of this. But God sees a different perspective. And he knows that although we could have a really awesome 80 or 90-year run here, or we can have a forever run there. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means he's committed to something larger. He's committed to your eternity. And he's going to stick with it to get you there. See, at the end of the day, he sees all these things, and then he does something really cool. Jesus lifts my head. See, I see that playing out. We see it when we see any movie scenes of this. We see this woman, she's there on the ground, and everybody's gone. It's just her and Jesus. And hey, you don't have to lay here under the weight. You don't have to lay here under the burden anymore. You don't have to let your sin and your shame own you. You don't have to let your past be an anchor around you. You don't have to let the stress and weight of this world around you. I'm here for you, and I'm not leaving you. They're all leaving. Your accusers are gone. I don't condemn you. I'm not mad at you. I'm not giving up on you. In fact, I'm sticking with you. And here's the deal. Let's get up together, and let's get going. Some of us here today don't have the strength to lift our own heads. Some of us are tired. Some of us are beat. Some of us are weighed down. Some of us have almost given up. But you don't have to lift your own head. He's there to do it. I think it's the power of the words we read in Matthew 11, verse 28. It says this, "Then Jesus said, 'Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light.'" Rest for your souls, rest for your hearts. This story, that is the story of Jesus. It's the story of the gospel. He left the right hand of God the Father to come to this earth, to meet us right where we are, to see us, to see all the reasons we need Him. He knew in the moment. You know what that woman did not need in the moment? She didn't need a scolding. She didn't need to be told she was wrong. She knew. She didn't need to be reminded she'd been caught. She knew. You know what she needed? She needed a Savior. She needed this loving hand to reach down and say, "I see you. I got you. Let me help you stand and get going." So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes with me this morning, because I don't know what part of that you need. Maybe you just need to be reminded that He sees you, that He knows where you are. He knows what's going on in your life right now. He sees you. Maybe you've had some hiding. Maybe you've been hiding things, and you just needed that freedom of busted. He knows. He sees it. Come clean. Step into that freedom. Maybe you're weary. Maybe you feel like you've been laying down, face down in the dirt for a long time, and you haven't had the energy to even think about getting up. Life has beat you down. You've beat yourself down. Sin, shame, guilt, embarrassment, whatever it may be, it's a heavy weight. If you can envision it, just imagine Jesus is standing right there next to you. His hand is out. He's ready to lift your head and say, "Let's go. I got you." So, Father, I don't know what the needs are here. I just know what I need from you. I need to be seen. I need to be reminded of what you came to do for me. Maybe there's some here today and they follow you, they know you, but maybe they've allowed some things to seep into their life. And they need to be free from that. They need to just come clean. They need to stop hiding. Maybe there's some here that just need to be reminded that you know their needs and you're there for them, and you're going to get them through whatever it is. Maybe there's some here that they don't even know you. Maybe they're here in the house or they're watching online and they've heard of you and they've kind of experimented with this church thing, but they've never said, "Jesus, come into my life. Forgive me. Change me from the inside out." Doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect. Doesn't mean life is going to get fixed. It just means that I'm a new creation. And I start following you. It's what you do. It's what you came to do. It's what you will continue to do. So this morning, we simply cry out to one name, the name Jesus. Let's stand together.
Faithfulness, I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. Still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet.
So as you get out of here today, just take that phrase with you. He sees you. Jesus sees you. We see you. We want to be there with you. We're praying for you. If you're here this week and you made that commitment to Jesus, or you want to know more about that, fill out one of those cards that Andrew and Rainey talked about. I want to contact you this week. I want to follow up with you. It's a big deal. But let Jesus do what he came to do. Let him come and to see you, to rescue you, to lift your head. So we keep going with him. We love you. We're praying for you. We'll see you next Sunday.